Whew! What can a loser like you do? My brother snorted as he said those words. Living with my brother and his wife, our mother was being taken advantage of. She arrived at our house in a worn-out state, crying, "I don't want to return there." The sight of her played in my mind as I clenched my teeth. "Hey, are you sure you can support that old hag? Are you going to take her in? Huh?" He was treating our beloved mother so badly and was ridiculing me as well. A wave of anger surged within me and I gripped the phone tighter. Still, I responded calmly. "If you're okay with it, I'll take her in." "My name is Rena. I'm 30 years old this year, married for 4 years. I have a happy life with my kind husband and our 2-year-old daughter. We're blessed in our work and lead a joyful life." I glanced at the date on the calendar and pulled out my smartphone. Today is my mother's birthday. "Happy 58th birthday, Mom. Are you well? Is there anything bothering you?" I texted her and soon got a reply. "Thank you for your text. I'm doing fine. Don't worry. How are you and your family? I'm always praying for your happiness." Even after reading her response, I couldn't help but worry. Currently, my mother is living with my brother and his wife at our childhood home. Our family was a household of 4: my father, my mother, older brother, and me. My father was a strict disciplinarian, with strong patriarchal beliefs and a controlling type. Because of him, my mother and I had been oppressed all along. My maternal grandfather worked at a company owned by my father's father, my paternal grandfather, and my mother was chosen to be the wife of the future company president. Due to the absolute power disparity between the 2 grandfathers, she could not refuse, and was sent off to marry him, almost like a hostage. The company also fell due to the burst of the economic bubble before my father could take over. However, it seems like they still had money left, and I never saw my father work. He would start drinking in the daytime, and his abusive words were directed at my mother and me. Living in fear of his quick temper, my mother had no choice but to obey. Even so, my father held steadfast to his outdated belief that women were inferior and men were unquestionably superior. He doted on my brother with this perspective, treating him as if he was something special. My brother got anything he wanted growing up, while I could never even express my desires. "A woman shouldn't be greedy," our father would scold. It's due to this upbringing that my brother developed a sense of entitlement, always believing he was special, while treating me as less than him, constantly ridiculing me. I remember how painful it was to grow up in such an environment. Every day I dreamed of leaving home as soon as possible. Despite my excellent grades, my brother, who performed poorly in school, was allowed to go to expensive private high school and college, while I was not even permitted by our father to attend high school. "Women don't need education. It's a waste. You should either get married soon or start working at a minimum wage job," he would say dismissively. I remember the time when my brother told me, "You're a dumb girl who's a failure. It's a waste for you to go to high school." And I cried in frustration at the utter unfairness of it all. In the end, my mother secretly arranged for me to attend a boarding high school. Despite the tough home environment, my mother was always on my side. "Rena, it's okay. You can escape from here. You will surely find happiness." I remember my mother saying these words before I went off to high school. I graduated from university using scholarships and money I earned myself. Since high school, I've barely returned home. I didn't attend my brother's wedding, and I didn't tell them when I got married. But I kept in touch with my mother, and occasionally met up with her. It's not an overstatement to say that I owe who I am today to my mother, a presence of utmost importance in my life. She was a gentle soul who may have been weak-minded, but loved me with all her heart. I always wish happiness for her. I remember when our father died from years of poor lifestyle habits. I didn't attend the funeral, but I received shocking news from my mother. On his deathbed, my father told my brother and his wife to move back home and live with our mother. Since then, my brother and his wife have been living with my mother. I wanted to protest, but my mother said it was okay, so I didn't say anything more. Instead, I kept in touch with her like this. Still, it was my brother. Would he take care of my mother properly? Was my mother truly okay? I always had a feeling of unease. After a while, my fears proved right. One night, the intercom of our apartment rang unexpectedly. When I answered, my mother stood there, dressed ragged. Despite it being late fall, she wore a thin, old, short-sleeved shirt and a skirt so worn out I couldn't tell when she had gotten it. Her hair was disheveled, her cheeks hollow, her eyes sunken, and she was trembling, uncontrollably. I was taken aback by her appearance and raised my voice. "Mom? What on earth happened to you?" "Rena, I'm sorry to just show up like this," she uttered in a voice so weak it could disappear, as tears streamed down her face. I welcomed her in, and my husband quickly prepared a warm drink and a blanket. Once she had settled down, Mom began to speak in a halting voice. Soon, after she had started living with my brother and his wife Nicole, it seems they had been treating her like a maid. Not only had they forced her to do all the housework, but if she didn't do it to their satisfaction, my brother would scorn her, calling her useless and a nuisance, threatening to throw her out. Nicole was calling my mom an old hag. She even sold my mom's few precious jewelry pieces and clothes. And then they'd gone about spreading false rumors that my mom was a troublesome mother-in-law. Mom had lost weight rapidly, and when she fell ill and bedridden, she was roused and forced to do household chores again. Seeing my mom talk through her tears, my heart ached unbearably. "Mom, why didn't you tell me you were suffering so much?" "Rena, I've put you through hardship since you were a child. I didn't want to burden you any further. I thought if I could just bear it," my mom said, her voice trembling. Then an email came in. "Oh, it's from Nicole." "Where are you? You didn't do the laundry and there's no food. Do you want your things to be sold again?" The email made her hands shake. "I'm sorry, Rena. I don't want to go back to that house." Upon hearing my mother's words, I pulled out my smartphone without saying a word. I dialed the number my mother gave me. After the dial tone, my brother picked up. "Who's this?" In response to his gruff voice, I answered. "This is Rena. Mom's here with me." "Oh, it's you. That old hag, leaving without doing the chores. So she was with you. Tell her to come back immediately." "It seems you've been treating Mom quite badly. I've heard everything." My voice was trembling with anger, but my brother just snorted and replied. "Ha! What about it? What can a dimwit like you do?" "What? You've been overworking Mom to the point of sickness, and you think that's okay? I won't let her live with you any longer." "Hey, do you think you can afford to support that old hag? She's been a housewife all her life, can't do anything, and has no money. Are you going to take her in?" "What? No more old hag! She was so handy as a housekeeper!" A voice that sounded like his wife came from afar. "They've been treating my dear mother so poorly, and even making fun of me. I can't stand it." I felt a surge of rage towards my brother and his wife, and my grip on the phone tightened. Still, I said calmly, "If you say so, brother, then I will take Mom in." "Huh? Well, if you're going to take her, that's fine. It'll clear out some space in the house, and I'll be relieved." "Understood. Mom will be living with me, so don't contact us anymore." I hung up the phone. "Rena, I'll take good care of your mother too," my husband said, taking my hand. Our daughter cheerfully climbed onto my mother's lap, calling her grandma, and my mother hugged her and cried. Half a year later, our doorbell was rung repeatedly. When I looked out, my angry brother was there. Next to him was a grumpy woman with a flamboyant outfit, probably his wife, Nicole. "What do you want? How did you find out where we live?" "We looked it up. Just open up. There's something we want to ask you." My husband and mother were by my side. I had my husband take our daughter into another room, while my mother and I handled it. The first thing my brother said when he walked in was, "What's this about our house being sold?" "Oh, you got the message? Yes, my company bought your house." I responded calmly. "Your company? What are you talking about?" "Exactly what I said. I'm the head of a well-known real estate company around here, so it's my company. By the way, doesn't the company you work for subcontract to us? When my brother heard the name of my real estate company, his face changed color. That's ridiculous! You, a dropout and a loser, working at that real estate company? And you're the head? That's impossible. If you're suspicious, why don't you make a phone call or something to verify? But please, don't cause any inconvenience to the company. I showed him my business card. As soon as he saw the card, my brother fell silent. His face flushed red. Indeed, after graduating from university, I had worked hard and been hired by a major real estate company. Later, I was headhunted as an executive for a newly established company, Company A. For your information, I met my husband at work, and we got married. He's what you would call a landowner, so I think we're considerably wealthier than you. There's no reason for you to call me a dropout or a loser. I could easily support Mom, you know. My brother, wide-eyed and gritting his teeth, didn't respond. His wife's face expressed shock. Damn it! Okay. What about our family home? What do you mean you sold it? My brother nearly foamed at the mouth as he yelled. My mother, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke up. You may not have known, but after your father passed away, the house was transferred to my name. So I sold the house and land to Rena's company, using my rights. So you should leave as soon as possible. What? What are you talking about, old woman? Wait, what's going on? You said that as the oldest son, the house was yours, didn't you? My brother and his wife were in a panic, their complexions changing rapidly. What's wrong with me selling something that's in my name? Sorry to break it to you, but I've broken free from your influence. I won't live as you dictate anymore, my mother said resolutely. In response, my brother yelled at her. What the hell are you talking about, you worthless old hag? His wife joined in. That's right! You've never worked a day in your life, just being supported by others. What are you talking about? Mom works hard. She's the manager of an apartment building that my husband and I own. She's very friendly, always keeps the place clean, and is loved by the residents. And she gets paid for it too. I replied firmly. Upon hearing this, my brother, who had been standing until then, fell silent and slumped into a chair. Next to him, Nicole whispered something in his ear. Knowing my prideful brother, he must have been crushed by the unexpected defeat at the hands of his sister and the rejection from his mother. If there's nothing else, you can leave now. I don't want to be involved with you. At my words, my brother lifted his head. His face, previously filled with rage, now showed a fawning, grinning expression. All right. But listen, you're rich now, right? Then give me some money. I recently lost my job, you see. I'm having money troubles. What? I was shocked at his audacity. Hey, Mom could give money to me too. You've got money from selling the house, right? Just think of it as helping out your adorable son, and give me some cash. Then I'll leave. Just as I was about to respond, my mother raised her voice. Enough already! Have some shame! I was taken aback to see my refined, gentle mother raising her voice like that for the first time. My brother and his wife looked stunned as well. I apologize for raising you to prey on your sister like a shameless creature, but there are things you should and shouldn't do. Don't disturb us anymore, and go home. Hearing this, my brother started to tremble again. Shut up and listen, old hag. You're telling me what's what. Be prepared. I'll squeeze every dime of your inheritance from you. Nicole added, Yes, give us the money already. To these two, my mother coldly retorted, That's if there's anything left. From now on, I plan to spend all the money from the sale of the house for myself and Rena and her family. I have no intention of leaving a single penny for you two. What the hell, you old crone? I'm cutting ties with both of you. From now on, please stay away from me and Rena. Leave that house immediately. Seeing my mother like this, I was so proud of her, a desire to applaud, and I was genuinely happy. My mother, who had been oppressed and obedient to everything, was finally freed from the curse of that house. Do you understand now? Please go home, I said. rubbing my mother's trembling back. Damn! No! We won't leave! We won't leave here until we get the money, at least. Yes, we'll squat in that house. My brother and his wife were still glaring at us. Then a low, calm voice echoed in the room. What do you mean, you won't leave? Standing there was my husband. My husband, with his gentle voice, spoke to my mother. Mother-in-law, I'm sorry. Could you please watch our daughter? You did great. Don't worry about the rest. Everything will be fine. Hearing my husband's words, my mother said, Thank you, and got up from her chair. Looking at my husband, my brother and his wife turned pale, and their eyes widened in surprise. What? Who are you? Nice to meet you. I am Rena's husband. By the way, what were you saying to my wife and mother-in-law earlier? My husband replied with a straight face. My brother and his wife suddenly turned docile. That's to be expected. My husband stands at a tall 6'3", has a solid build and a strong, imposing face. In fact, he even holds a black belt in judo. Despite his peaceful nature, his kindness towards me, his intellect, and his doting love for our daughter, it's no surprise that people meeting him for the first time might think he looks intimidating. Especially to someone like my brother, who can only show off and look down on women. My husband is the most difficult type to handle. I just remembered I have something to do, so I should be going. Yes, let's go. My brother and his wife quickly changed their attitude and left. Their retreat was so comical, I had to restrain myself from laughing. In the quiet house, my husband touched my shoulder and told me, You did well. You must be tired. My mother appeared holding my daughter, her face bright, and we embraced each other without saying a word. Fast forward to 1 year. My husband, my mother, and I continued to share a harmonious relationship. My mother continues her job as a building superintendent, and compared to that night when she showed up looking worn out, she is now lively and healthy. She adores and takes care of my daughter, which has been a great help to me. Of course, my daughter adores her grandmother too, and often sticks to her. Watching them brings feelings of happiness to both my husband and me. As for my brother, he, believe it or not, divorced shortly after that incident. He lost his house and his money, and after showing my husband his pathetic state, Nicole quickly left him. Nicole is currently striving for remarriage through dating, but due to her nasty nature and ulterior motives for money, it seems she can't find anyone. My brother was kicked out of his family home, jobless, and living alone in a rundown apartment while struggling with part-time jobs. Of course, I have no intentions of helping him, as he brought this upon himself. My mother and I plan to live without getting involved with him any further. By the way, we are planning to build a large, 2-family home soon. We could continue living in the condo my husband owns, but as my mother pointed out, it would become cramped as our daughter grows. Let me use all the money from selling the house, she said, to which we gratefully accepted, despite chuckling at her enthusiasm. We are looking forward to living happily together in our new home.